Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. In this video, we are going to be conducting a full review of the Thrustmaster Boeing Yoke. I do want to disclose that Thrustmaster has given me this unit to test out and review, but they have also stressed out that they want my absolute honest feedback. Let us begin by unboxing the unit to see how the unit was delivered to me first. We're going to take a look at the various components that ship with the product, and we're going to also assess the packaging and the instructions available to help set up the unit, followed by the configuration in X-Plane and Microsoft Flight Sim, and then we're going to also take a look at the gameplay. Throughout this video, I will give you my honest opinion on what I think about the Thrustmaster Boeing Yoke. Let's get started. Let us begin by unpacking the unit. One of the first things I notice is that Thrustmaster has taken every measure to ensure that the unit is protected and arrives undamaged. As you can see, a couple of boxes there to make sure it's protected. The actual box is also very well put together and has sufficient protection. You'll notice that there is sufficient instructions and manuals to help you set up the yoke and the throttle quadrant, which comes as part of the Boeing pack. As you unbox the unit, again, you'll find that everything is very well protected and very well put together with sufficient instructions. Here is the throttle quadrant that ships as part of this package. Again, you can see the level of protection there. We also have a desk mount for the throttle quadrant. It comes with all the necessary tools and instructions, a sufficient USB cable, and an additional spring to increase the tension in the flight yoke if you so desire. All the instructions are available in the manual on how to do that. And here is the actual unit. I have found that the Thrustmaster Boeing Yoke to be very fluid and has a very nice feel to it. I really like the travel distance and the number of buttons on the actual flight yoke. It's got also a throttle axis that you can use as prop and mixture if you already have a throttle quadrant, so you do put them to good use. Now that we have finished unpacking the unit and familiarized ourselves with all the components, let's take a closer look at the Thrustmaster Boeing Yoke. First of all, I'd like to say that in terms of the construction, it is a very well put together unit, some very high quality material used across the board to make this a very durable flight yoke. In terms of the actual feel of the yoke, I can tell you that I really like the travel distance and I like the tension in the yoke. Very, very well done, both for the for the pitch and for the yaw. I think it's done really, really well, and it has sufficient tension to make it immersive, yet not too hard, yet not too soft. Now, the one thing that I will say I've noticed about the operation of the yoke when it comes to general aviation aircraft is that you need to add a little bit of response curves, for example, in X-Plane. Otherwise, it is a little bit too sensitive. So you might just want to add a little bit of response curves. And if you want to know how to set up response curves in X-Plane 12, please be sure to check out my tutorial video provided in the description section of the video. So overall, in terms of the movement of the yoke and the travel distance as well as the movement, I really do like it a lot. Another thing that I like about this yoke is the buttons, all the buttons that comes with it. You can see the buttons here for the rudder trim, for the stabilizer trim. It also has a couple of hat switches here. One you can use to move around the cockpit, and the other one is not assigned in X-Plane 12, which you can use probably to set up your X camera views. It's got the autopilot disconnect button, lots of buttons really, and you've got also buttons on the back of the yoke here, probably for ATC and, for something else that you can use here. It's got buttons at the bottom here as well, as you can see. The landing gear lever is located nicely here, which is accessible at all times, and it's not very difficult to get to it as you fly. It's got also the throttle, it's got actually a throttle axis here, as you can see. Now, what I've done, because I do have the TCA throttle quadrant, I've used this for prop and mixture. Works beautifully, does exactly what it should, and I do recommend it. I do recommend this configuration if you already have a throttle quadrant. Now, the one thing that I personally do not like about the TCA Boeing Yoke is how far it travels outside your desk. The way this mounts, so this is actually, it has an advantage and a disadvantage. The advantage is that it will not take a lot of space on your desk. So as you can see, very small space occupied on the actual desk, but then it extends far out from where you normally sit. And this is going to force you to sit a little bit away from your desk, which can make things a little bit complicated if you are, for example, if you don't have a mic bow and you cannot extend your mic out, if you're a content creator. If you're, for example, the rudder pedals are a bit farther away and you cannot extend them because of the short USB cable. So this specific design, in my view, poses a little bit of limitations in terms of how you can set things up. Now, I've seen a lot of people with this next level bracing seats, which, beautifully allows you to configure all your units without really having to worry about ergonomics a lot. But this is probably the one thing I do not like about this yoke, is how far it extends out. And then the way that, the way it's set up is as you're flying and, using your rudder pedals, this part here will pretty much sit in your lap. So it can be annoying and it can be distracting at times, and it makes using the throttles here a little bit difficult. Because as you move towards the yoke, your head is going to be just about right here. So this is where this is where your chest is going to be more than likely. And then it becomes very difficult to see this or to manipulate them because this part is sitting in your lap. Overall, though, I must say that over the past 8 years of using many flight yokes, I have spent thousands of dollars on flight yokes, both low end, medium end, and high end. I have to say that this is the most fulfilling flight yoke that I have ever tried. I really like it a lot, and we're going to now take a look at its configuration in X-Plane and the gameplay, and then followed by Microsoft Flight Sim. Let us now take a look at the configuration of the Thrustmaster Boeing Yoke in X-Plane 12. One of the things I really like about X-Plane 12 is how easy it is to set up your flight sim gear. Now, as you can see, it has full support for the Thrustmaster Boeing Yoke. We have a picture here noting all the buttons, and as you move over these buttons, it will highlight what they do for you. For example, here, if I click on this button here, it's the pitch trim down. And if I click both of them, then it's the pitch trim A and B. And similarly, if I go on the landing gear there and move it, it will say the landing gear up and down. By default, everything came configured. You don't really need to do anything unless you want to change the mappings. Again, we can look at the back of the unit here. As you can see, again, very, very nicely done. And as you click on the controls on the actual yoke, it will tell you exactly what this yoke is doing here on the setup page. You will notice that there is absolutely no delay as I move the yoke. The movement, the actual movement versus the response in the sim is instantaneous. Very, very nice feel to the yoke. All right, let's go ahead and take off and get a feel for the yoke while in flight. Let's set up our flaps. And again, I'm using the Thrustmaster throttle quadrant. And so I'm using all the controls available to me, the flaps, the speed brakes, as well as the throttle quadrant. And rotate. Very nice feel to the yoke. If you're in the market for a flight yoke and you mainly fly airliners, this is definitely the flight yoke for you. It's just absolutely amazing. I really like the feel of the yoke. Very, very responsive. The tension in the yoke is just right for an airliner. It definitely is very immersive. And here we can reset our view. Let me move the camera here so you guys can see the yoke movement. Can retract the flaps. Just absolutely lovely feel of the yoke. Very responsive and very fluid. We are now in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and just like X-Plane, you don't really need to configure or map any of the controls. Everything is automatic. One thing that is worth noting is when you set up the unit and connect the USB cable, you must select the mode of operation for your Thrustmaster unit, whether it's Xbox or PC. The switch is located on the back of the unit, and make sure that it is selected to PC before you connect your USB cable. Okay, so we are now in Microsoft Flight Sim. Both hat switches are already programmed. One will help you navigate through the cockpit, as you can see here, and the other one switches the views. Very nice. Again, the yoke itself is very responsive, as you can see here. And the reason I wanted to being a general aviation aircraft is just to let you know that you can use the Thrustmaster Boeing Yoke with any type aircraft. It does not have to be Boeing, can be any aircraft, and it works beautifully with general aviation aircraft as well. All right, let's go ahead and take off. What we're going to do is we're going to release the parking brake, and we're going to give it full throttle. There we go. Full throttle is set. We're going to keep the view there so we can look at the yoke movement as we apply pressure. Right, here we go. We'll wait for the rotation speed. A little bit touchy here. All right, there we go. And rotate. Again, doesn't take very much to rotate. And we're going to select gear up. Let me reset the view a little bit here so we know where we're going. And yeah, as you can see here, the yoke works beautifully with this general aviation aircraft. As you can see here, the instantaneous movement, very, very fluid in terms of the responsiveness. So the connectivity between what you do and what the sim does is instantaneous. I would recommend for general aviation aircraft, again, to add a little bit more of response curves, just to make it a little bit more immersive, a little bit more realistic. But other than that, everything works exactly as it should. And it is indeed a very, very pleasant flight yoke. It really does put you in a very immersive environment. The feel of the yoke is so nice, and the grip as well. Very high quality product by Thrustmaster, and I personally highly recommend it. Probably, in my view, in my 8 years of content creation here on YouTube, this is by far the most fulfilling flight yoke that I have ever tried, both for airliners and for general aviation. Though I might prefer some other products for general aviation aircraft, it is actually a very close match. The overall immersion that you get out of the Thrustmaster Boeing Yoke is a very close match to anything else that I've tried for general aviation. So overall, if you're in the market for a flight yoke that is durable, that is immersive, that is high quality, and something that will bring hours of enjoyment to your flight sim experience, then I highly recommend the Thrustmaster Boeing Yoke. Well, folks, this pretty much brings us to the conclusion of this review video of the Thrustmaster Boeing Yoke. I hope that you have found it useful and insightful. If you have any questions, as usual, please do post them in the comment section below. Until next time, please take care of yourselves and each other. I will see you all very soon. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.